Going live, I'm going live, I'm live, I'm live. It's not 5, but I'm alive. There's the Ayo. So I thought I would talk today. I looked at Caged yesterday. Hey up, folks. I thought I'd look at the Caged system yesterday, but part of the Caged system is the E-shaped chord. So just a bit of a, I suppose, a bit of a rambling and a demonstration of different things that and ways of treating the E chord that you probably the E shape that Mark, that you might not have thought about. This comes from the period in time when I was at music college, and I had a professor there who said, he says, everything that you get given. I went to college as a late learner. I only picked up guitar at 18. That's quite late. But, once I knew that this was the thing for me, then that was it. I was sold, and I've been obsessed ever since. So as an adult learner, I think I appreciated everything that was said to me, and I took it and I thought, right, okay, I'm going to do that thing. I'm going to do that thing. So I had a harmony teacher, and he said, everything that we give you, you've got to see if you can suck the marrow out of it, twist it and turn it in as many ways as you possibly can. And for me, that I interpreted that as being, right, okay, well, if I play an E chord, what happens if I move it up here? What happens if I move it here? What happens? And all these different sort of ways of being able to twist the chord around or use a small piece of information, it means that you can actually get to the core of what it is that we're trying to do. You know my shtick. If you've watched any of my other videos, or if this is your first time, my thing is all about getting to the core of what music is, and it's that emotional communication. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to communicate on an emotional level. Initially, with ourselves, we are the primary listener. And I always think to myself, if we don't get it as musicians, if we can't feel it and hear it, then the other people who are listening to your music just aren't going to get it. So the thing that we really need to be able to do is to be able to take anything and be able to rinse it and have some sort of emotional value for it. And this is a bit of a strange kind of tangent, maybe not sort of thing that you'd expect from a YouTube guitar lesson, but very much how I think of things. So the E chord, it's very, very plain. Like I said yesterday, the fact that it has a root note here, a root note on that E string, a root note on the D string, and a root note on the thin E string means that 6 of the strings are already taking 6 of the strings. 3 of them, half of them are already root. So the thing is, it's going to sound very, very sort of bedrocky. I hope you know what I mean by this. Trying to describe these terms, you've got to come up with your own sort of language. And this is how, you communicate with other musicians. You say it sounds woody, or, you want it to sound softer, and, these kind of descriptive ways of understanding things. So I'll just take this reverb off this, actually. There we go. So the E shape. And this is actually one of the first lessons they ever teach. And it's about this idea of you're moving towards tension or you're moving away towards release. And this is a really great example. This is something that I call Spanish-ish, because it sounds Spanish-ish. And if we take the humble E chord, so we put the first finger on and these two fingers on here, and then I move that up 1 fret, I get this dodgy sounding F, yeah, and I call this F-ish, not fish, because that's something else, because this is Spanish-ish. It ties in, it makes sense, kind of, right? So look at that, F, E, F-ish, we create tension there. And then by moving that first chord, that first shape, that first E, back to where it lives, we get resolve. So really, this is kind of a small kind of example of it, if we look at it in that context. But the idea is that if I take that E shape and I move it somewhere else, it's going to create another emotional value. And this is the way to think of the notes that you play, the chords that you play. They have an emotional value, especially if you're coming from the perspective of writing songs as well. They have an emotional value. It's important to get the emotional value right. If you're singing a love song, you don't want it to sound angry, unless you're angry about love, and then that would be a different thing. But there you go. Right, so if I move that shape up here, I played this at the beginning because this gives me a kind of a Lydian sound, and I really dig that sound. But there's something going on with the chord itself. And emotionally, to me, it sounds a bit surprised. It sounds as if it's like a revelation. It almost sounds like revelation. So the thing is that it sounds mysterious. There's something to it. Guys, I'd really appreciate in the chat and in the comments if you'd say what that chord, you think that chord is saying, you know, so you've got to listen to the sounds and make sure you know what that chord is saying. Yeah. So this first one here, if I move this up again, I get kind of this one sounds a bit kind of passive, a bit dull. It's basically a G with some open strings, and I'm not thinking about naming chords here. I'm thinking about naming emotional values. So this is another concept. Yeah, it's not offensive. It's not offensive, that one. But here, if I move this up here, I know this is a clanger. Yeah, and the way you move out of clangers, and I should just, you know, the part of the thing that I like to do is kind of give you little gold nuggets of information in here. Okay, so you play a bum note, you play a bum chord. We all do. It's okay. Get over it. Yeah, you just it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But how you move out of it into some sort of resolve is easy. Yeah, and the secret is move down 1 fret or move up 1 fret. That's it. You'll find some form of resolution to move away from that bum note or that clangy chord or anything else like that. If you move up or down 1 fret, yeah, by whatever means, then you will resolve it and you will escape that there. So you can hear this one here. She ain't pretty. Yeah, it's not a pretty chord. But the way I like to put it is to give it context. And the context that you want to give it is that if I was writing music for a film or something like that, and this was the chord, somebody walked in the door and this chord played as the sound as the character walked through the door, you could definitely feel there was an emotional value to that person walking through the door, whether they had sinister intent or they were, you know, a good or a bad character. So this would be really useful for that kind of idea here. And this E shape, I'm just using one shape here, so I'm getting the maximum out of that one shape. I'm exploring what that one shape can actually do without overthinking about it, without adding bars. I can add a bar, I can do other things with it, but just looking at this from this perspective. And here you'll hear that thing. That's a clanger. If I move it up 1 fret, listen to how it resolves. And it resolves beautifully. Now remember, these sounds, they all have context based on the chord that precedes them, the chord that comes before. So going from this tension to this chord here, that's definitely going to give you some release. But it might not necessarily from here. Oh, but it does. Yeah, because this is a hotspot. This is one of those nice little kind of twinkly chords. And if you listen to this one, it's optimistic. It's sunshiny. It just, if you think about that, if you look out your window and the birds are singing, it's almost a little bit like a Disney film or something like that. If I move up again, I know I'm going to get a clangor here. And it might even be worse than the other clangor. But it still describes a situation. It still describes an emotional value. It's not nice. It's not pretty. But the thing is, if I move down, I know I can resolve it. But if I move up, I know I can resolve it. This one's a beauty. This one is really uplifting sounding. Yeah, you find that one and it's uplifting. Hey up, Chile, Louisiana, Motor City. We've got people coming in from all over the world. It's great. So we've got this here. This is a great one. I love this sounding chord. This one's going to be a clangor, but it's got some. It's not as much of a clangor as that. Yeah, it's got some expectancy to it. This one, that's pretty disgusting. That's okay. It's not too bad. Yeah. And remember, we could take this E all the way up the octave. So I'm going to take that all the way up the octave, and I'm going to go. Remember that the 12th fret is the same as the head note, first fret and second fret. So if I take this chord up here, yeah, and then here's hello Louis, afternoon from Huddersfield. Here's something that you can do, yeah, with you can do this with one shape. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find those sweet sounds that we had. So I know this is a good one. I know this is a good one. And that gives me 3 chords then that I can move the shape around with. And I can express them. I can put some mystery in if I want. I could put these sounds in here, and this will kind of demonstrate to you that you don't need much material to make something musical. You don't really need much at all. Yeah. Now I changed the shape to a minor shape there, and I'll show you that. I'll show you that little sequence there in E. But this, by just using this one shape and sliding it up, it's extremely useful for strumming. So getting your strumming together, no awkward chord changes. And if I remember correctly, I think this was part of me learning how to strum as well as a beginner, because I was trying to think like a beginner. So if I take those 3 there, so the thing is, hopefully you can see that this seemingly simple one idea of one shape and moving it up the neck, it's very forgiving, because the reason it's forgiving is because if we think about the E chord, this E string is the root note, this E string is the root note, this B string is the 5th of the chord. So anything we play going up there, if it's in the key of E, it's going to sound okay. It's going to sound good. Now, the thing that we can do is we can take this E shape, if we can take this E major shape here, and what we can do is we can turn that into a minor shape as well. And we can slide that up. And if I take that there and switch those fingers around like I did in the other lesson, remember I'm using fingers 3 and 4, sticky fingers. Yeah, so I'm using my sticky fingers idea here. Moving that up 2 frets and put my first finger, can you see there? on the 2nd fret there. Now, essentially, there's the E shape, major shape, there's the E minor shape. So if you remember, and Lewis, hopefully you'll remember this, dude, because Lewis was an in real life student of mine. 5th root 3rd, 5R3. This was yesterday's lesson. 5R3. If I take the 3rd and flatten it, it becomes a minor sound. So I can explore these ideas here. No barring required. All you have to do is get your hand around this switch in between the 2nd finger and the 1st finger. So look, there's the E major shape, there's the E minor shape. Okay, guys, so here's the thing. Oh, no, I'll just run up this here. Yeah, I'm going to leave out chord 7. I've gone up the first 6 chords. Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor. I think I did this in another tutorial before, but that's something that you need to commit to memory. As musicians, there's things that you need to commit to memory. So hopefully, guys, this gives you something. This sounds absolutely fantastic on an acoustic. I think 12-string guitars are the devil. They're a very good bonfire wood, but they sound, I begrudgingly admit, they sound absolutely amazing when you do this sort of thing with a 12-string as well. Ain't nobody got time for a 12-string. So anyhow, this lesson's rambled on a bit. Guys, thank you for tuning in today. If this is your first time on my channel, please consider subscribing. If you've got some value from this, hit that like button. If you want to see me in other videos, other lessons, then hit that notification bell, because I do like to go live. It's my preferred format because editing takes so long, and I don't want to be thinking about that. And I like seeing you in the super chat. It's amazing, you know, all these people from all over the world, guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate you turning up time and time again. It means a lot. And I will see you in the next video. Take care. Stay safe. And play that guitar, because you know what? You won't learn it if you don't play it. You're not going to learn this by osmosis. Pick it up and do it. Right, guys. See you later. Take care.